Hello, and welcome to the third class within our series called Journey Through the Chakras. Today, we're going to focus on tuning into our energy center for will, self esteem, and confidence, which is called the solar plexus or third chakra. This can be practiced within the succession of this series or as a standalone practice. You may want to have your yoga props handy or any household items such as blankets or pillows, towels, or books that can be used for helping to support the body. So now I'm going to give the microphone over to Deborah. She's going to talk about the third chakra, and then we're going to integrate these concepts into a practice for releasing shame and stepping into a place of being perfectly imperfect.
So let's review first and second chakra real quick, and then we'll talk about third chakra. So our first chakra at the base of the spine is our center for my right to be here and to have. And so it's all about our lesson of feeling safe, having abundance and trusting. And its block or demon is fear. When we move into the second chakra, pelvis, that chakra is all about my right to have my own feelings, beliefs, ideas, and values, and to begin to separate, to individuate ourselves from our loved ones, our tribe, our culture, everything else like that. And its block is guilt. So now we move into third chakra, into our solar plexus area right here, and that's our center of will. So if you think about it on a developmental standpoint, right, we start to figure out who we are, what we like, what we want. And now third chakra is about, can I put those things into action? Where do I have agency? Where do I have will? So it's our fire center as its sign, right? Can I take action? It's also our center, as Wendy was saying, for self-esteem and confidence. Do I feel like I'm capable in the world? Can I do these things that I want to do? So its color is yellow, like fire. Again, when you think about fire, it governs our abdominal organs. So a lot of times in the Eastern practices, you'll hear them talk about your digestive fire and whether or not that's working well. And so that's related to your third chakra. Its seed sound in Sanskrit is Ram. And in English, it's if you want to think about it, you could think about the ah sound like father. Its block, its demon is shame. So shame is probably our most painful emotion. It's something nobody wants to feel. But the important thing to know is we all have it, because somewhere along the way, there were shoulds that we heard from parents, teachers, friends, whomever, that told us we were not okay, right? We're defective, we're not good enough, we're unlovable in some way. So everybody has some shame. They're not always tuned into it, but we all have some shame. So our lesson is to really learn to embrace the shame, to start listening to when we're criticizing ourselves or other people, when we're trying to hide things or we're beating ourselves up, right? So those are all signs that your shame button has been triggered. So we want to step towards it. We want to actually practice being vulnerable and saying, it's okay. Like Wendy was saying, I don't have to be perfect. I can be perfectly imperfect, because we all are. So shame's big lesson ultimately is to teach us compassion and self-love. So what we invite you to think about today during your practice or during your week is when I catch myself beating myself up or beating other people up in terms of being judgy and critical, is to instead say, I forgive myself, everything and everyone, right? So you are being forgiving of yourself when you're not your best self, of other people. So eventually we can learn to sort of find that space and in general be a little more compassionate and loving. So we invite you to spend some time being mindful about this week, and really come back to the idea of fire as you think about all of this, right? Fire burns things away. So we can let go of that old way of being more judgy and critical and come back to, or not come back to, step into, rather, let me say it that way, a place of being more loving, higher, wiser self.
Begin to find a comfortable seat. Maybe that's sitting cross-legged, or if you have blocks or props, you might even Choose to sit with your knees forward and placing one of those lifts or props between your ankles. So, whatever feels good for you here. So, we are going to take a moment to start to arrive into our practice and into our bodies. And as we do this, as we're seated comfortably and we start to connect to breath in a moment, I want to invite you as we're sitting to create a mudra with your hands. And this particular mudra today is called the sun mudra. Now, I'm going to place my hands up to show you the finger placements, but ultimately you can have your hands resting down on your thighs. So you would start to take each ring finger and just bend it down, and then just place your thumb right over it, just in a really soft way. So you're creating this shape with the fingers, with the hands. And a mudra is just that. It is a gesture, usually with the hands and fingers, that is considered an energy seal. And so this particular one is about increasing the fire element in the body. And as with mudras, they begin to help stimulate the energy flow and affect the energy flow in the body in these ways. So take a moment here. You could have with your hands in the shape, either your palms facing up or down, so whatever feels comfortable and feels good for you. Take a moment here to tune your awareness inward, and you might do that by completely closing your eyes or softening your gaze down upon your cheeks. And as you start to shift your awareness toward your breath, I want to invite you to envision that you're seated with the sun shining upon you in a real comfortable way, not like it's shining upon you and you're burning up, but that there's the perfect temperature and the perfect amount of warmth and light shining upon you. Begin to invite your conscious breathing in. And as you take these breaths in, perhaps begin to watch with your mind's eye the breath moving in through your nose. And as it makes its way in, moving down the back of the throat and the back of the heart, and landing today at your solar plexus. So the solar plexus is this space above your navel or belly button and just below kind of the breasts. So that is the third chakra area in that space. So obviously your breath is going to move fully into your body, but just in your visualization of your breath moving in and landing here, I'm going to invite you to imagine that breath moving basically into the solar plexus. And you could imagine that the solar plexus is the sun shining out. So take a few breaths here. When we breathe in, there's an expansive quality to the breath, to the body as the breath moves in. So you might envision that when you take the breath in and your body expands out, that you're shining light out into the world from that solar plexus. And when you exhale, there's a natural kind of reabsorption or contractive quality to the body. And perhaps you can envision as you exhale, that light then turning inward and shining right into yourself, your fire center, that space of will and confidence. Take a moment here to set a conscious intention for your practice today. And you can either keep your hands like they are, or you can release that mudra and bring your hands to your heart if that feels better. And once you're clear with your intention, Do release your hands, release that shape or that mudra if you haven't already, and begin to softly open your eyes. So we're going to start to build some heat through just really simple movements and our breath. And so as you're breathing, maybe you're able to engage your ujjayi or diaphragmatic breathing here. You're going to bring your hands kind of placed, not touching your belly. They can't actually. You know what? Let's just do that. Bring your thumbs at your navel and your index fingers touching. So we'll create this yoni mudra here with the hands. All right. So we're going to inhale. As we inhale, we're going to lift the hands off and open the hands and breathe in through the nose. And as we exhale, we're going to breathe out through the mouth, taking the hands back toward the belly and creating the sound. And then we're going to inhale, open the hands. And there's a little soft undulation of our spine here as well. As we exhale, taking the hands back, let the navel draw back, maybe look down, maybe round your upper back a little bit. So we inhale, lifting and opening the heart, and exhale. And then you'll move on your own rhythm. Inhale. Exhale. 3 more. Last one. And this time, do take your hands all the way to your belly, pressing gently that beautiful heat you've created right into that pelvic region, that lower chakra, really below the third, the second chakra here. Take a breath. In and out through the nose now. A last breath like that. So as you continue your conscious breathing, we're going to shift positions and come to hands and knees, tabletop position. And so as you start to get your body set up, do feel free to have any support you may need or want or cushion under your knees if needed. And we're going to begin to set up with the fingers spreading right, the hands about shoulder width distance, the knees about hip width distance. And then we're going to start to circle the hips. So you're going to take your hips in one direction, several rounds. And as you circle the hips and you create that shape, that movement, that circumference of that circle, allow your spine and your body to respond. So that there's going to be a bit of an undulation to your spine as a result of your hips moving in this way. Just allow that to be present and feel into what feels nice in terms of how big or small your movements are. And you're just breathing in and out through the nose consciously. And you may find that it feels good to allow your head to move or drop or tilt. Don't overthink it, just kind of letting it naturally just move, however feels like a space of ease. Some of you may find that you want to make these movements a bit more expressive or bigger. And so you might begin to shift a little bit forward and back. You might kind of allow an elbow to bend and then the opposite arm to straighten. So really just kind of finding a full body expression to the point that feels good for you, feels right. Some people feel more comfortable, or maybe on this day you feel more comfortable doing smaller isolated movements. It's all correct. Just finding what feels good. Finding a sense of flow, fluidity. Taking 2 more cycles here. And just note kind of which direction your hips are going in and come back to center. Pause at center, take a breath. And then we're going to start to take the hips the other direction. And it might feel not as smooth at first or a bit awkward even, moving in this direction. We're usually one side dominant, but just kind of notice what's happening here without judgment, with a sense of curiosity. Just connecting into the amount of movement and expression of that movement that just feels right, it feels good. And it might be different from side to side. A couple more cycles here. And you feel complete and you're ready to kind of return back to center, please do so. We're going to take a breath here at center and just start to inch the hands about a hand's width distance forward of the shoulders to begin to set up for downward facing dog. If for some reason you need to rest at any point, please just know that that's available to you at any time. And that might be now. For those of you who are ready to move on, we are going to integrate our shoulders, spread the fingers bright, curl the toes under, and on an exhale, start to lift your hips up and back to downward facing dog. And once you get into this shape, take a moment, if it feels nice, to pedal your legs, to shift your hips, to move the body consciously in any way that feels nice. Keeping that breath steady. And as it feels right for you, you can start to settle into the shape of your down dog. If you're really tight in your hips or you just need a little slack, a little spaciousness, feel free to have a bend in the knees, just lifting the hips up and back. Now from here, we're going to progress to a standing pose, warrior two. So we're going to inhale, lift the right leg in the air, keeping the arms firming to straight. And as you exhale, gently step that foot as far through as you can between your hands. And then from there, you're going to spin your back heel down onto the ground. Start to anchor through both feet, allowing your back toes to turn in just a bit if it feels okay. We're going to scoop the right hip up under. You can slide your right hand to your right thigh for support. And on an exhale, press up to warrior two. So warrior two, our torso is facing toward the left, your left, so facing out. Your right knee is tracking towards the second to third toe of your right foot. And then we're going to start to reach the arms softly out to either side. The shoulders are soft, the arms are softly vibrant. We want to feel the fingertips reaching out. Full breath in, full breath out. Stay anchored equally in your feet. Allow your torso to kind of draw back toward your back leg a little bit because the tendency is to lean forward. So bring your whole torso just back toward that left arm. Good. Take one more breath here. On your next exhale, you're going to slowly straighten your front leg and release your arms. And we're going to turn all 10 toes to face forward. So we're in a wide-legged stance here. Now, for this next pose, you may or may not need something underneath your hand. If you have books or a dense pillow or yoga blocks handy, you might take those just in front of you, right in front of you. If not, don't worry about it. So, we're going to take a moment here to bring the hands to the hips, to gently loop the shoulders back, and take a breath in. And on your exhale, we're going to start to hinge forward with a flat back. And you're going to go as far down as is comfortable. If you have tight hamstrings, at some point your legs may need to bend. And you're going to bring your hands either to the ground or to your prop in front of you. And just let your head go for a moment. So if your hands don't easily touch the ground, that's probably a good indicator to have something handy in front of you. The other thing you could use is actually the seat of a chair. It'll lift you up pretty high, but it's a nice support. So just keep that in mind. So we've got 10 toes pointing straight ahead. We're just taking a moment here to enjoy this soft inversion as our head is below the heart. And then from here, we're going to rise halfway to a flat back. You're going to place your right hand on the floor or on your prop directly in front of your face. So what I want you to feel here is that as you straighten your right hand, you're going to take your weight forward just a little bit to get really long. So as your right hand is down, you're going to bring your left hand to your low back sacrum or hip area and start to elongate through the crown of your head. Start to turn your gaze to your left. Turn your chest toward your left. Loop your left shoulder onto your back. So we're in a bit of a thoracic twist here. And then if you want to go deeper, you can reach your left arm first, just straight back behind you with the thumb up toward the sky, like you're hitchhiking or going to shake someone's hand. And then from there, if your shoulder and neck allow it, you can reach that left arm straight up toward the sky. Full breath in, shine out like a starfish, full breath out, strong through the legs. One more inhale. And on your exhale, you're going to float the left arm all the way down and just release the pose. Now, if you're feeling a lot of stretch or sensation in your legs, feel free to kind of bend your legs really deeply here to kind of ragdoll down the spine. Just finding what feels good, finding a softness. And again, if you need to come all the way down into a child's pose to rest, feel free. We're going to begin to explore second side. So we're going to rise halfway up to a flat back. We're really getting long in the spine here. This time the left hand is coming down directly in front of your face. Make sure that you're not weighted too far back into your heels, but you're shifting your weight enough forward to get long and get equal weight. So the right hand is going to come to the low back sacrum. And you want to shrug your shoulders away from your ears as you start to turn your gaze to the right. And we're breathing. And so same rules apply here. You can start to explore, to perhaps go deeper and see what your body allows. You may find that it's very, very different from one side to the other. It certainly is for me. So just meet yourself where you are and find that beautiful, happy edge of sensation that works for you. Taking a final breath or two here. And then on your next exhale, you're going to take that arm down, just let your body hang and release. Either hands on the floor, hands on a prop for support. Beautiful. So from here, I'm going to have you bend into your left leg and start to turn your left toes to face out. And we're going to kind of just walk our hands around to the left to frame the front foot. So we're basically kind of getting ourselves positioned toward a high lunge to then plant the palms and gently step back into downward facing dog again. Take a couple of breaths in your down dog. And then bend your knees a lot, stick your tushy way up and back, gaze between your thumbs, start to rock your weight forward in space, shoulders integrating on the back, knees are lowering down toward a hovering tabletop. You might just bring the knees all the way down, or you might just take a breath whether you're hovering your knees off the ground, just to get a little of that fire center activated. And then we're going to touch knees soft and take a child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart. Just take any variation of arms here as you rest your forehead down on the ground. Just taking a moment to feel. Take a final breath here. As you're ready, we're going to transition out of child's pose in a conscious way by just taking the hands back toward the outer knees, almost like you're going to do a push-up. Softly loop your shoulders on your back, and on an exhale, rise with a flat back. So we're going to set up here for our next pose. Now, we're going to come into what's called gate pose. So again, if you have cranky knees, I suggest having a little something under the knees here. And if you had blocks or books, you might have those handy. You may or may not need them, but I'll just show you with that so that you're able to also follow along if you want to. All right, so as we're standing up on the knees, we're going to, if you're utilizing a block, you're going to bring it on the left side of your body. And you might place your fingertips or hand down on that prop or down on the floor. We're going to start to reach the right leg out to the side. So we're standing on the left knee and right leg moves out to the side. So as you're ready, you can start to come into that. And then you'll lean your hand, fist, or fingertips, your left one, down onto your prop or the floor. And we're going to start to reach the left arms, pardon me, your right arm, straight up toward the sky. And then if you want a deeper stretch, you can start to turn the pinky finger toward the floor and reach the fingers all the way overhead. Full breath in, full breath out. Your right toes of that extended leg are facing straight ahead, and you're really anchoring to the outer edge of that foot. Take a final breath here, soft through the shoulders. Good. And then from here, we're going to softly rise. And you might keep your hand down for just a second, just so you can pull that right leg back to center. Beautiful. So we're standing back on the knees for just a moment. Inhale, reach both arms all the way up, maybe touch fingers or palms. Exhale, bring your hands down toward your heart. One more time. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up. And exhale. Lovely. So we're going to do the other side by taking the left leg out. And so if you are utilizing a prop, you might bring it on to the other side. Obviously, the hand can be down on the floor as well. So you're going to lean over toward your right just enough to take that left leg out directly to the left. The toes are pointing straight ahead, and we're anchoring through the outer edge of that foot. And positioning your right hand, fingertips or fists, however works, start to float your left arm up. If you want to go deeper and get a deeper stretch, spin your bicep towards your ear, your left one, and start to reach over. And as you're here breathing into that whole left side and feeling that beautiful sensation, allow that front solar plexus area, the rib cage right there around the solar plexus, to bind inward, to reabsorb, to narrow, so you get even more stretch, but also stability here. Take a final breath. And then very carefully, you're going to float your left arm back down, start to come back up, start to bring that left leg back to center. Beautiful. So we're going to reposition by lying on our back. This is the point where if you have the fertility balls and you have one handy, you'll have one. If you don't have the fertility balls, don't even worry about it. You're going to use your soft fist or your hand to activate the abdominal area. So as you start to reposition onto your back, if you like to have something under your head, feel free. Coming down in a way that serves you. And the positioning of the legs here could either be what we refer to as constructive rest, which is knees are bent, feet flat, feet are the width of the mat, and the knees are tipping in. So this is just a really soft place to land. For some of you, it might feel really good to bring the soles of your feet together, knees apart, so you go the opposite way. And in that case, because we're going to be here for a moment, I would suggest having support on the outside of your thighs or knees, whether it's blocks or blankets or pillows. So as you're here, if you have your fertility ball, you're going to place the ball at the very top of your stomach. So it's that space between the lower ribs there beneath the breasts. And you're going to place your right hand on top of the ball and your left hand stacked on top of your right. So that'll be our starting place. If you're utilizing your own hands, then you can make a soft fist, like almost like an open fist, and just place it and let your left hand come right on top. So I'm going to stay upright here so that you can just kind of see the direction we're going to go. So with your breath, we're going to place some pressure of either the hands on the body or the ball. And the amount of pressure is going to depend on a few things. If you're within the first 2 weeks of your natural cycle, you know, day one of period to just by or before ovulation, then you might consider placing more pressure than you would if you're on the second 2 weeks, since the first 2 weeks is more about cleansing and detoxifying. The second 2 weeks could be a potential 2-week wait or what have you. Same would apply if you think you're pregnant or you are pregnant. You can still place a little bit of pressure, but you're not going to want to really be like digging down. And in those cases, you might just kind of rub the hands versus pressing. So I just wanted to say that. Now, we're going to take a breath in. And on your exhale, you're going to push straight down. So right at the top of the stomach there. On your next in-breath, as you inhale, you're going to allow your hands or the ball to travel down an inch or two toward your navel. And on the exhale, you're going to press straight down, meaning down toward your spine or down toward the floor since you're laying on your back. And then inhale, lift and travel. And we're going down another inch toward the navel and exhale, press. And we're going to continue along this line. Inhale, lift and travel, drawing the ball or the hands down, exhale, press. We're going to keep going in this way until our hands or the ball reach the very top of the pubic bone. So we're going pretty far down here. So just continue on that same line. Once you have come to the top of the pubic bone, you're going to shift the ball toward your right ovary. So we're always going to go clockwise. So we're going toward the right ovary. And as you continue along this line, think about like a crescent moon or semicircle. You're going to continue from the ovary and you're going to just continue with your breath, moving along that semicircle up toward the top of the stomach where we started. So just take your time with this. I'm just cueing you as we're all kind of have different rhythms and how fast or slow we're going, just so you know where to go here. So you're utilizing the ball, or you're utilizing your hands to just massage. And in acupressure, this is considered these points and these lines that we're making, the vessel of conception point. So we're just starting to really get some energy moving. It can also help sometimes aid with digestion if you're feeling sluggish. And if you have a full bladder, you're going to probably feel it once we start to come down toward the left ovary. So that's normal. It's natural. If you feel it, you'll just be like, oh, wow, okay, I have a full bladder. And so as you get to the top of the stomach, you're going to continue around the other half of the circle, moving down. So we're basically creating a big circle clockwise. So you're going to be going now toward the left, side of the rib cage, below it really, and then along that line, moving toward the left ovary, and eventually back to the pubic bone. So we inhale, lift and travel. We exhale, press. Inhale, lift and travel, and exhale, press. Do take your time and continue. Once you get back down to your pubic bone, you're going to continue in that clockwise direction, but now just utilizing equal and constant pressure at whatever intensity feels good in your body, of either moving the ball, basically rolling the ball around, or your soft fist or your hands. In that clockwise direction, and then you can start to spiral as you go in that direction, smaller and smaller and smaller until you reach the navel, and then continuing in that same direction, larger and larger and larger as we go back along that initial outer points that we touched in the very beginning. So we always want to move clockwise because that is the natural energetics of our digestion in terms of our ascending and descending colon. So we want to work with our body and with those energetics. So do take your time. We're going to finish this up in about 15 seconds. And once you're complete, you can, if you're utilizing the ball, just move it to the side and out of the way. If you're using your hands, just let them release away from your body. Just take a moment to feel. And then we're going to just take a soft, happy baby pose. So you can draw your knees in towards your chest, allow your knees to widen. You can either keep your hands like just at the back of the thighs and start to flex your feet and stamp the soles of your feet toward the ceiling. So that the soles of your feet are parallel to the ceiling. Your shins are perpendicular to the floor. And you might just hold on like that and let your sacrum drop, your low back. Your shoulders drop back and down. If you have the accessibility and want to go deeper, you could slide your hands to your outer shins or outer ankles, or some of you may have the accessibility to grab hold to the outer edges of your feet. If you do, that's great. Just make sure that you're still able to soften your shoulders and you're able to anchor your sacrum to the ground. Taking a final breath or two here. And once you're complete, you can gently release. And we're going to move into our final resting pose. And I just wanted to give you a suggestion that would work really beautifully with our third chakra, which would help to open the front of the body. Now, you may not have these props available. So if you don't, just get into any position where you feel supported and held. But you might consider a heart opener. So if you did have blocks, you could set your blocks up and put a bolster or long pillow over the top of them. So you just create kind of these little stairs with the blocks, and then you could lie back where you're opening up the front of your body. You could do that with two pillows crossed if you don't have blocks, or if you have blocks and you just want to use your blocks, a nice big heart opener is setting the blocks like so that you can lay back with this lower one right at the tips of the shoulder blades and the other one for your head. And it's just a nice front body opener. So you're going to choose whatever serves you best today. And as you start to settle in, just know that you can always shift your position at any point without disturbing your relaxation, but do find something that you feel supported and held. And Deborah is going to take you through this next final piece.
I invite you with your inhales to inhale compassion, love into your cells. Breathe it into your heart, your solar plexus area. From your solar plexus, send that message out to every cell. And then as you exhale, think about anything you'd like to release that's not of service in terms of judgment, criticism, feeling defective, unworthy. Let that come out with your exhale. Let it come out through every cell in your body. So inhaling a sense of love, compassion, drawing that in with your breath to your heart, to your solar plexus, sending it to every cell in your body. And as you release, burn away, right? That element of fire, burn away anything that you want to let go of that's no longer of service to you, to your relationship with somebody or something. If it helps, you can imagine breathing in a color. So what color do you see love in or compassion? And on the exhales, what color perhaps do you see letting go of that shame? Breathing it in, what you want, letting go of what you want to let go of. So take 3 more breaths just like that. Embracing the idea that vulnerability is a strength, that finding your imperfections and embracing them is actually going to bring you more peace and bring you more peace in your relationships. And then after you finish your 3rd breath, I invite you to just let go. to allow your body to be held, to allow your mind to become as still as possible. So let your body be so quiet that maybe you barely feel yourself breathing. You're just being held. You're letting go. You're softening anywhere else that needs a little more softening. And so with Shavasana, now we're going to just be quiet and just be. Here we go. As you're ready, you might choose to take some gentle movements like wiggling toes or wiggling fingers. Or you might choose to gently roll your ankles and wrists. Perhaps you take a moment to notice which parts of the body are in contact with the floor or the props below you. Maybe you deepen your breath. If you chose to do your Shavasana with knees wide, then I invite you to take a hand to each thigh and gently draw the knees in towards one another. And maybe you walk your feet wide again in that constructive rest, just to give the back a chance to rebalance. When you're ready, choose one side to roll on. If you're on props, you could choose to stay on the props on your side or to gently come onto the floor, and just pause there for a couple of breaths. Keeping your eyes closed, gently press yourself to a comfortable seated position. And then you can choose to bring the hands together at your heart center in prayer position, or you might choose to bring one hand with the other over it on your heart center, or one hand on the heart, one hand on the belly, or anywhere else that feels good for you. Taking a moment to bow your head in towards your heart, your inner teacher. Perhaps you choose to set an intention for the rest of the day or this week. You might choose to close your practice with a prayer or some words of gratitude or silence. When you're ready, gently lifting the head back up one vertebra at a time, gently blinking your eyes open. We thank you all so much for joining us today and taking this journey into the third chakra. And we invite you to just explore and be curious about your shame and what you can do to shift into a place of more compassion and love. We close our practice by saying Namaste. The divine or light mother in me sees and acknowledges that in you. Namaste.